I was gonna save this video idea for the next installment in this series, but out of nowhere, news of Animal Crossing New Horizons receiving an update with 3.0 after 4 years pretty much hit the entire fanbase by surprise. Now, I want to preface before critiquing the current state of Animal Crossing, I enjoyed a lot about New Horizons back when it launched. It's a time capsule of an experience that is difficult to put into words, but those memories it gave me connecting with people like many others is something I'll never forget. However, I've had a few concerns as a long-time fan of this series with the direction that these games have been taken that have only seemed to have grown worse with update 3.0. But let's start off by talking about a few positives that came out alongside this update since it isn't all bad, and just like New Horizons, my opinion on it is fairly mixed. The new furniture sets look amazing, and I'm glad that they're bringing over crossover content from other Nintendo IPs, that's always a good thing, and who doesn't like Lego? My bizarre fantasy of having Animal Crossing be the central hub to play a bunch of classic Nintendo games seems to be one step closer with how you can play NSO titles through New Horizons now, which is a cute novelty. There was also this incredible moment through this video where they finally announced the quality of life features that die-hard Animal Crossing fans have been wanting since day one, that being bulk crafting is finally here. I mean, it only took like 4 years and people going crazy from spamming crafting constantly with the tedious mechanic, but I mean it's here now, so that's a good thing I guess. It's pretty funny though, since you can easily miss it during the presentation since they don't actually announce it, they just show it for like 1 second on screen. They're also increasing the amount of villagers that can visit your island to 12 players when using the Switch 2 version of this game. Man, 12 players, now that's a lot, and just what, pray tell, will this group of 12 Animal Crossing players be doing online together, Nintendo?
Decorate with furniture to your heart's content.
Yep, there it is. I get this point has been brought up quite a lot within the Animal Crossing community, but I can't stand New Horizons' insistence and hyperfixation on designing. So we'll get into the reason behind why I think they're obsessed with pushing this series into being a designing sim in just a few moments, but to me watching this new trailer was honestly a bit frustrating. They had the guts to show 12 player Animal Crossing and then bring back Camping's family but not have the mini games they ran in New Leaf's Mortimer Island. Instead we have this hotel which is literally the Happy Home Paradise DLC again. 12 players can now access creative mode and design an island together. I'm sorry, but this just doesn't appeal to me at all. I remember when New Leaf first came out and I met some amazing people on the online island for the game. I was even there for its final moments before Nintendo pulled the plug on the online last year. Sure, the minigames weren't nothing special, but they gave you something to do other than just standing there and looking pretty. I mean, you can take pictures of 12 other players online to show others that you're having fun, but don't actually have fun, this is just Instagram the game at this point. A lot of these new features are incredibly shallow in my opinion. Alright, let me take a step back for a moment. I'm sorry if things got heated there, but these critiques only come from my love for this series and concerns over the direction that Nintendo was going with when it comes to what they see as Animal Crossing, since it's pretty much had an entire genre shift at this point. New Horizons, back when it originally came out, already marked a big change in this series with its more designer sim oriented gameplay, but this update to me showed a clear lack of Nintendo wanting to bring these games back to the franchise's roots. The older Animal Crossing games were more about exploring and discovering small oddities that gave these older titles a ton of personality. To me, having a designer oriented game alongside having a life simulation experience are two genres that clash with each other. Without getting too philosophical, if you're in control of every single piece of architecture that makes up a game's world, then how can you be expected to live within it? A life simulator is literally someone's life within a world that's been created by someone else. If you're just the god of that world, then you can't exactly live within it since you're just designing things and not really doing things. Does that make sense? When I picture Animal Crossing and what I like about this series, I see myself as just a villager and nothing more. The designing elements to me always came second and weren't really a big part of the older games. I was never sold on this series just for its customization, outside of maybe the furniture sets and textures that you can place on the ground, which is in every single entry. I understand that we all have our own connections to Animal Crossing, but I think we can all agree that New Horizons marked a bit of a split within the fanbase. The shift in gameplay between life simulator and design simulation reminds me a bit of what happened with another beloved Nintendo series, that being Paper Mario. I'll spare the overdone explanation, but in a nutshell, the older Paper Mario games were more about traditional turn-based RPG gameplay that was more combat and story oriented. Whereas the newer entries lean more towards being adventure games, which is one aspect that made up the older titles but was also mixed in with a bunch of other elements that gave this series its own appeal. Like Animal Crossing, previous games had you designing, but never to this degree. If you want to delve a little deeper into this comparison, I think that like Watanabe's interview before Origami King's release, citing how they wanted to differentiate Paper Mario from the Mario & Luigi series since both were turn-based RPGs with a focus on time and inputs, the Animal Crossing games are in a similar circumstance with Tomodachi Life. I think the reason why Nintendo is pushing for Animal Crossing to feel less like a life simulation game is because of Tomodachi Life. Nintendo historically has always tried to avoid games overlapping in styles between one another. You can also look at F-Zero for another example of this, a racing game that used to be fairly popular, faded into obscurity because of, well, Mario Kart becoming the premier racing game on every console. The only real exception to this rule is with 2D platformers, and I'm not really sure why this is. It could be because of the evolution of gaming and how a lot of series just started out as 2D platformers, and it could also be because they're not too resource intensive like other games that are made in 3D. With the upcoming release of Tomodachi Life Living the Dream and the Switch 2 version of Animal Crossing New Horizons, I feel like they're going to try and differentiate the two series more, by having Animal Crossing be the designing sim and Tomodachi Life being the life simulation experience. But this new formula has really split the fanbase, which is a first in the Animal Crossing series, and to be honest, it's surprising given how long running it is. I'm surprised this tonal shift hasn't happened sooner when comparing it to other franchises out there. Nintendo was actually doing pretty well before at separating these two gameplay styles from one another. How they managed to do this was when they originally released Animal Crossing New Leaf in 2012 and Happy Home Designer in 2015. These two titles were released separated from one another, and Happy Home Designer was treated more as a spin-off game, which was something they was doing quite a bit in that year. When Animal Crossing New Horizons came out in 2020, it pretty much fused these two gameplay styles together and added on crafting alongside it. And therein lies the problem. There's no longer a way to differentiate these two gameplay styles. Even in New Horizons itself, the Happy Home Paradise expansion was added as DLC and not a separate release, which further proves my point in how they wanted to push this series more into being designer oriented. I mean, it was also a massive part of New Horizons advertising at the time. Maybe Happy Home Designer back in 2015 did sow the seeds for what would become New Horizons, but if this designer focused gameplay wasn't for you, you could simply just not buy it. But now with New Horizons, its DNA is everywhere with its newest surprise update only doubling down on what is in my opinion a much more dull and boring gameplay loop. New Horizons also marked the first real split in the Animal Crossing fanbase, with these two gameplay styles constantly being against one another. Do you make the villagers look and act like perfect dolls to allow the designer to place and decorate them any which way they want, allowing them to get rid of what they've dubbed the ugly villagers since they'd rather have their islands look good and aesthetically pleasing? Or do you program villagers to have wills of their own and say what they want, allowing each one to move in wherever they feel like it and only leave when they want to? You simply can't have both of these, and the two genres are constantly clashing against one another in New Horizons. Design sim or live sim? I know I keep saying this, but to me it's the fundamental flaw with Nintendo's recent push for Animal Crossing. And with New Horizons selling an insane amount of copies, which is a topic for another day, I'm sure we'll start to see even more from this designer angle since it sells well and can be used as advertising online with other users posting their islands on social media. But you know, I do feel like I've been a bit harsh on Animal Crossing New Horizons in this video, and if you personally enjoyed this kind of gameplay style, this isn't an attack or anything, it's just something I don't like myself. To be fair, New Horizons is most people's first Animal Crossing game, so I can understand if these criticisms don't really make any sense to anyone new to the series. This is just my own opinion at the end of the day, but even on a life simulation level, Animal Crossing was always something extremely unique and special to me. I get we all have our own connections to these games, and even though I grew up with family members that loved The Sims in the late 2000s, where life simulation as a genre was extremely popular in the UK, I've never once enjoyed them outside of my Sims. It wasn't until 2013 when I first played New Horizons that I really started to appreciate this genre. This might sound bizarre, but I play games for escapism, so this idea of making myself inside of a game has never once appealed to me. Whenever I'm given some kind of character creation tool, I literally just make a character with green hair since I just like the colour green. This has always been something that's been hard to explain to other people. But the original 4 mainline Animal Crossing games struck a really good chord between people who wanted to design themselves and put themselves inside these worlds, and people that just wanted a bizarre and goofy life simulation game where they didn't really have to do any of those things. Over time I've realised that might not be everyone's reason for liking Animal Crossing, which is why I wanted to make this video. And it's also why I'm cautious behind what Nintendo's doing with this series. But I also want to defend my opinion here, since nowadays there's tons of doomer content and ragebait videos online. And by no means do I want to add to that, since there's just so many false opinions out there. But at that same time, I think it's necessary to critique something you like. And I mean, these older games aren't going anywhere, so I can still play them whenever I feel like appreciating this series. It's just that Animal Crossing has become something very different than when it started. And I wanted to make this video to vent out my feelings on that fact. And I'm also pretty curious, what do you think about Animal Crossing New Horizons' current state? Please let me know in the comment section. Also, any feedback on this video will be appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day.
Hey, it's called Fingers. Other people have to live here too, you know.